Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I've been meaning to get you for ages because you're going phenomenally,
Yeah, it's good to be on. I've been looking forward to talk to a few people and get the word out there. So this is a great opportunity, and yeah, hopefully it's fairly interesting for your listeners.
I'm sure it will be. They
Yeah.
love everybody. It's such a great audience, and they just, it's such a variety of people that I have on here, and I think it's
Mm.
just so important to get people from all walks of life doing all kinds of things because I want people inspired to think, hey, wait a minute, if he can do it, so can I. Maybe I can do it too. So that's the gist of it, and
Well,
let's
that's
hope.
exactly what I want to talk about. Yeah, like that's if we can. Once we've got through the story, people will see that like there's no real secret sauce to it or anything. It's just having a bit of a go, and you can sort of do whatever you like if you really put your mind to it. So hopefully we get that across. Mm.
Yeah, and you absolutely can. I think there's a big whole, false a myth out there, that everyone's an overnight success. Oh, he's just lucky, he's just got what it takes. That's a lot of crap, it
Oh, we
takes
are a little bit, so don't say that too much.
it still takes a
Our
lot
stuff's
of
got
hard
like
work.
it's not exactly, but it is pretty incredible. But no, it's been a lot more in the making than what people realise. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much goes on in the background, so much stress too at times, but
yeah, that's right.
So if while we're heading down that track, why clothing? Like, where did this whole idea come from? Did you, as a teenager, were you going to be a fashion designer and a fashion expert, or?
Not at all. So this is the last thing I thought I'd ever be doing. Probably the first idea was brought up in the pub, like a lot of other great ideas are, over a few drinks. At our local pub there at Bryaglon, a lot of the guys wear flannel shirts, and there was a discussion about how over the years flannel shirts have become a lot cheaper than made. They're a lot thinner. You sort of only get 6 months wear out of them. They're just a throwaway thing. And yeah, I was of the belief of that, and I've always been a bit of a flanny wearer, and so I thought originally I was going to try and organise some like just better quality cotton ones, some more traditional ones, but there was reasons that wasn't really viable. So um, in the end, we sort of we thought what we're going to do is just make the absolute best money we can, one that lasts for ages, that you're not just throwing out all the time. And that was sort of the idea for it. But on the practical side, clothing's it's good because nowadays you can start with a small amount of capital. You don't have to invest a lot. So I think our initial sort of line of clothing only cost us $8,000, which on $8,000 is not small, but it's something that people can come up with, and it's something that we could come up with at the time. It's not perishable, so I really wanted to get into something that wasn't perishable, because if we didn't sell it straight away, well, we had 100 shirts to start off with. Over time, I think we could have sold it. They were pretty standard styling, and we're going to last. So it wasn't like we were getting into food or something where you had a limited time to sell it all. And just scalable as well, because I had a bit of a dream of growing it to a reasonable size, and clothing is one of those businesses quite scalable, and the way we do it, it definitely is. So if you were doing something really specialized that was small and really handmade, it's quite hard to scale up. Whereas the business, the way we've set it up, is that it can just keep growing as fast as we can sell them. So that was the main thought behind it all. Yeah.
Wow. It's and for those listening overseas, a flanny is a very, very Aussie thing, and it's a flannelette shirt, and we absolutely love them over here. Well, some of us do. I usually wear one, but I haven't got one on today. But it's
Yeah.
and you're so right. They're getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm throwing them out
Yeah.
left, right, and center. But they are just that sort of shirt that just fits and hangs, and you do your job in it. You do whatever. You can sit around it. You can sleep in it. Whatever you want.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They're bloody
I
brilliant.
think when I saw them, they were for sale in a local supermarket for $8, and I thought that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, it's just getting ridiculous. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're cheap and nasty, and you can chuck them out. But that is the whole
yeah,
fast clothing issue that we've got going on in the world. And clothes like yours, made out of wool, which we'll talk about in a minute, are
yeah.
they're slow fashion. Like they last for
Yeah, that's right.
don't throw them out. better on the economy, better on the, well, I don't know about the cheap economy, the fast economy, but it is better. That we've got better quality, better on the whole world, actually. So I love it. So we'll get into the wool in a minute because I want to know more about that. But how did you know where to start? Because this is the big question that comes up for people. I've got this idea. It'd be great. Yeah. And talk in the pub. Yeah. I'm going to resolve this problem and I know what I can do. And then you go away and you get over your hangover and then you sober up and it's kind of like, well, okay, well, that was a great idea. Now my mates are expecting it, but where do I start? So how did you know where to start?
Well, I didn't know where to start. So, but we live in an age when you can sort of work anything out. A quick Google search can sort of expose you to nearly all the information you need to know. I'm a big podcast listener. In my previous job, I used to do a lot of driving around. So to fill in the gaps, I'd have podcasts running, and it's amazing what you can learn off those. Yeah. And then just there was Facebook groups that were actually dedicated to people starting up apparel businesses and that sort of thing. So it was definitely a long process. We probably spent 18 months sort of working out how to get sample clothing, how to do bulk orders, what you had to do to supply to sort of so the manufacturers knew what sort of style you wanted, learning about sizing and everything. I've got about 25 items in the top of the closet that didn't make the cut, so it wasn't just an overnight thing. But that was probably the most enjoyable part of the process. I almost feel like I'd like to start another business like that, just because it's really enjoyable getting to learn it and find out new things, and just putting it out there and seeing if people actually buy it. And we were lucky enough that we sort of struck a chord with a lot of people, and that's what they are after as well. But no, and that's another thing. You don't really have to know. It is so easy to learn. I think in the past you would have had to do a 12-month design course or something like that, and before you're even started. But just with the easy access to knowledge all over the world, you can just have an idea and pursue it pretty quickly.
Yeah, you can. I 100% agree with that. But and the answers are everywhere. But the thing is, you can't just sit around on your bum and think, well, I don't want to start doing the work. You actually have to do the research, and you actually have to do the work. You can't.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You have to bite the bullet. You have to try something. And we made a lot of mistakes. Like it wasn't. Yeah, like I say, some of the items of clothing that we sort of designed and had made just look ridiculous now. Like you would be embarrassed that we ever made them, but I think we'll keep them as a reminder. And if we ever have a bit of a museum, we might put them up there, because people will be shocked at how far off the mark we were with a lot of things. But yeah, but you just had to go and do it. We wouldn't have got to the good shirts and good vests and everything we're doing now if we hadn't gone sort of gone through that learning process. And you will make a lot of mistakes, but you just got to not worry about them. And that cost me a bit of money and it wasn't that good, but move on to the next one and we'll try again.
They always say that, if you're not embarrassed by your first product, you're doing something wrong.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it wasn't actually a product. None of them are products. Although we've tried to cut the products and we sort of taken them. We tried them out and they probably weren't 100% as good as what we thought. So we discounted them or just sort of took them off like not for sale anymore, and we learned from that. So there's always going to be that little bit of wastage with that, but that's the only way you learn, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think you just got to do that trial and error, and like you said, put it out there. And this is, I think, this is where even if people get to this point, they stop. It's kind of like, I'm too scared to put it out there, and fear of rejection, fear of criticism, all the fear of failure. But you do have to put it out there. And if people say that's shit, you just got to take that.
That's right. That's right.
and start again. And until you find that thing that people want.
Well, if you've seen our Facebook and Instagram, we're not worried about saying some controversial stuff and asking questions and copying a bit of flack. That's all part of it. But it actually grows you a bit of a community, and you find, and then you've got people that actually will tell you straight up this is good or that's not good, and it's really quick feedback, so you don't have to do a heap of trial and error, because with one Facebook post that whether you've got it right or not.
That's fantastic. That's part of your branding, is that style of communication. But it's also it costs people a lot of money trying to get feedback, and whereas if you're getting it instantly, even if it's like, nah, that's shit, I'm never wearing that, that's fantastic, because you can knock it on the head straight away. And
exactly right.
That's
one big advantage of being a small business is you can be quick. You haven't got millions of dollars invested in one line or whatever. If something's not working, you get out of it fast and you move on. And that's the important thing to remember, because you just dig yourself a bigger hole if you try and push something that people don't want. So, and really flexible as a small business.
Yeah, I agree. And it's listening to your customer, isn't it? It's like, it's stop hanging on to your baby. And I've been guilty of that. I want this baby, I want this to go through, and I think we're all guilty of that when we have something that we really love, but sometimes you just can't. And your customers will tell you that shit, get rid of that bit. That's not working.
They might get blocked, but I'll listen to them. You're gone, but fair enough point. Yeah, no, not really.
I love it. So what kind of help did you look for, like for the ins and outs of business? So, you said that you did the research and everything else for where do I get these things made and everything, but then there's a whole business aspect behind that. Did you just learn that as you went along, or did you seek help from places?
So at the start, I didn't really look for too much help, because it was just sort of on paper, it was probably such a ridiculous idea that we were going into a clothing brand. I was quite aware that people would probably say, you've got a good job, stay with the job you've got. So probably right at the start, and that had happened before when I'd had ideas. You quite often, you'd ask 100 different people and they'd all say, no, that's not right. You got a good job, you're doing that. But then I'd start thinking to myself, I've been researching this for 18 months. And they don't have any idea what I'm talking about, but then I'm going to take advice off them. So you're best off, in the end, you back yourself at the start. But once we got a little bit established, like you say, we did a bit of startup Gippsland, and I've been in contact on the phone with probably half a dozen different people I sort of admire from business background and that sort of thing, even a couple of old bosses and that, and just either talk to them on the phone, which we've had to do mainly over the last few years, or even sat down with a few of them, and that's been really enjoyable. Once you're established, you can sort of, talk to them on a more sort of even plane, and you can really get down into the nitty gritty. So that's probably mainly what I've done. And then again, I just listen to my endless podcasts all the time. I read books, and you can never sort of learn too much.
Yeah.
But I think if you're doing the research, you got to back yourself in too. So I'll get all that advice, pick the sort of the stuff that I sort of think is going to be the best, but if you get in the negative or you think something's not quite right, just because a couple of people say it, you don't necessarily have to go with that either. So, but no, I'm definitely always looking to learn and try and get in touch with people who can help out.
Yeah.
The other thing actually is we've actually been in contact and done a bit of collaboration and worked in and got friends with a lot of other small businesses around the place. And they're really inspiring too. So if you got any self-doubt, you start talking to them, and people that are doing the same thing tend to be very positive. So if you're feeling a bit down, there's a few people I sort of get in contact with, and they'll G you up and you go through your different ideas and that really gets you going. So nothing really specific, but that's sort of how we've done it.
Yeah, but that's better. That's better. That's sort of taking advice from all angles. But, the self-doubt, it comes up for everybody. We all experience it, and we all experience imposter syndrome and all that kind of stuff. But I think, you hit the nail on the head, where there's always going to be naysayers. They are always out there. And it's about, I get this saying that I love: never take constructive criticism from anybody who's never constructed anything in their life.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So I think it's, if you're going to get advice, get it from people who have already proven, that they've done.
That's right.
They know what they're talking about. So,
Yeah.
No, I love it. Do you both work in the business now, you and your wife Alice, or like full time in it?
Yeah, so pretty much full time. We do a little bit of farm work too. We got the little farm there, and I do 1 day a week working for someone else, and that's good just to get away from it for a bit. But yeah, we're pretty much full time. That's what you'd say our main jobs are. Yeah, it's really good. We sort of, I'll do most of the work sort of 3 days a week, and Alice does a couple of days, and we work in. That's one of the advantages of it. I spend a lot of time with our young fella Timmy, who I wouldn't do if I had a 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So you get a lot more time that way. And the other advantage is if you need to catch up, you just go and do a bit of work on a Sunday night or, at any time. So we don't really have set hours. It's not a 9 to 5. So I quite often might do 3 or 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon and then have a bit of a sleep in and not do anything Monday, that sort of thing. So, yeah, we're pretty flexible on that, but we're officially both full time. That's right.
Yeah. And I love that. That's one thing that a lot of people go into their own business for. And me, 100%, that's the top of my list, is the flexibility, just being able to work when you are and have quality with your family. You have quality time with your family. And, if you want to go to somewhere on a Sunday, you can. If you want to go on a Saturday, you can. If you take Monday off because you want to go to, I don't know, somewhere in the city. We can't at the moment, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got that opportunity just to say, no, that's what we're going to do. And
yeah, I remember about when we first went full time and we'd had a really good week, and we dropped off Timmy at daycare, and then we were at our favourite cafe, eating some nice food at lunchtime on a Friday, and Alice had a champagne or whatever. We're saying, this is pretty good. You couldn't get this work in the 9 to 5 rat race. And that was one of the moments where we thought, this is this is actually pretty good. We got to keep pursuing this, So there's a lot of other stresses, but yeah, that bit of flexibility, as you say, is ideal for us.
Yeah, I agree. But you're right. It's a double-sided coin, isn't it? It's you get the flexibility, you get all the bonuses, but at the same time, there's no magic wand, to fix all the hard work and all the you still got to deal with them. But it's kind of like, do I want to deal with stress on Monday or do I want to deal with it on Tuesday? No, it's not exactly.
I think the difference is we're both probably people who we're not necessarily good employees for other people. Yeah. Monday morning, I was talking to you before, I had a bit of a flu, not much sleep. The young fella had been up, but I couldn't sort of wait to get to the office. Whereas if I'd have been working with someone else, and I hope they don't hear this, but you probably would have nearly rang in sick. So it is just really, I find it so much more motivating when everything you do sort of goes straight back to your own back pocket rather than and you live and die by your own sort of decisions. That's really motivating. Whereas, when you're sort of just being told what to do every day, it doesn't inspire me nearly as much. So that's another great advantage.
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm the same. No matter how sick I am, I still come into my office because
that's right.
You're energized by your achievements. You see, you can tick things off, and you're like, yeah, and it's for me. High growth.
Yeah, that's right.
Working for someone, and that's not for everybody. I mean, there are some fantastic bosses, but by Jesus, there's not that many. But like if you work for I've worked for bloody government and all that kind of stuff, and I just. Oh, Jesus, I would call in sick because you just bloody slugging the pen for somebody else and you never end up making any decisions. It just goes round the table and never bloody stops. So I love this work. Right. So what was it, what point was it that you hit where you decided that's it? We can do this full time. Like this business is actually serious and it's growing. We can jump in now and just that's it. That's us.
Well, probably there wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't the exact moment. As much as anything, it was probably I was a little bit over the job I was doing. So, this business, it might not have been quite big enough, but it was improving rapidly, and I was probably being unfair to my current employers at the time. I wasn't putting as much focus into the job I was being paid for as I should because my thoughts were always with the business. We'd saved up about a 6-month nest egg, and the idea was we'll try it for 6 months. If it becomes a complete flop, then so be it. Put the tail between the legs and go back to work. Nothing lost, So that was when the decision was made, and it was definitely worthwhile because we're always cutting corners when trying to do a 9 to 5 and trying to run a business, and it just grew ridiculously fast as soon as there was full-time effort being put into it. So yeah, it was a really good decision at the time. But one of the things, we sort of put ourselves out there. We got in contact with a few local media things, and and put our name out there before we were probably really established, sort of pretending we were a bit established. And so that was sort of a bit of motivation. By putting ourselves out there, you sort of nearly had to make sure it worked. Otherwise, we looked a bit silly. Not that it really matters, but, you know, so that was another good thing that we did. We got out there and said, we're doing this, even when we're only sort of, you know, hardly selling anything. So that was actually, in hindsight, that was a really good thing to do, because you're sort of forcing yourself nearly to make sure it works. But no, so there wasn't an exact point where we thought, oh, we're making $1,500 a week. That's enough to cover our lifestyle. Let's go and do it. It was more sort of nearly for mental health, because like just wasn't motivated by the old job, and then and just had that little bit of money saved up so we could have a crack for 6 months.
And it's fantastic, because when you said, you know, when it grew phenomenally, you know, once I've got to stop saying phenomenally, because I'm not saying it right.
Grew lots.
Yeah, it grew really fast. You know, once we put full-time effort into it. And I think that's another thing, isn't it? That once you're in it full-time, you know, you've got to actually make the money. So you put a lot more dedicated focus in, you know, and real specific.
Yeah.
And it does take, you know, well, no, I'm not going to say it does for everybody, but it should. You know, that's the best opportunity. And if it doesn't, maybe it's not the right business. But you just have to push harder once you quit your other job.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You sort of put yourself out there, and you make yourself do it. So, but it was just really liberating, just that waking up, like you say, and just being keen to get to work every day, and doing your own thing, being your own boss. I only wish I'd have done it earlier. I was sort of procrastinated for 15 years before that. I wish I'd have done it earlier, and I sort of think everyone should. If you've got that idea, I know it's not for everyone. Like, you might have a sickness, you might not have the financial background. We were pretty lucky. We saved up quite well. But if you're in a position where you can sort of have a crack for the 6 months, it's the way to go, definitely. Because there's nothing to lose. It doesn't matter what anyone says, you know, just go for it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, you know, that's what I did. You know, my partner and I, we just said, right, Karen, you have a year off, you know, and build the business up. Because what happens is, if you're working for somebody else and you've got your business on the side, you're always sort of just half-assed about everything, and you've got this safe
that's right.
That's, you know, well, you know, I've always got this money coming in, I've got this, and you're just not bloody devoted to it. But as soon as I started to do it full time, we got bloody COVID hit. I was like, you know, this is shit.
Well, we did too, but it was just that it was actually perfect for us, because everyone was sitting at home doing online shopping, so we could help. We were like, oh, come on, just spread a few more cases out. So that, you know, not really, but, you know, yeah. Well, come on, Dan, another week's lockdown just while sales are going good. But no, shouldn't say that, but, you know.
But I suppose if you've got a product, you know, that's a whole different board. For me, I
understand.
I'm out doing bloody keynote speaking and team building and Christ knows what, you know, and it's like, nah, there's nobody at work, so we don't need you. It's like, oh shit, you know.
No.
But you know what, I think that if you jump in, as you say, for 6 months or 12 months and give it a go, what people keep forgetting is that I can always go back. You know, I can always go back to where I was. And I know that's right. A little bit shameful, you know, or embarrassing or whatever, but it people shouldn't see it like that. We should just say, well, I can go back, so why not give it a go?
Yeah, and also the younger the better too, because when I was 37 at the time, had a kid, married, had a bit of a house and that. So you got a bit on your plate, but the younger the better, because if you're 22 and you give up your job and you go for it and it all goes pear-shaped, well, no one cares if you move back in with mum and dad or whatever, and you know, and you've got a job working, you go and work at the pub collecting glasses or something. It doesn't matter, because you're only 22. So that's another reason why I wish I'd have done it earlier, and I sort of tell everyone who's got the chance, just go for it when you're younger.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I waited till I was 55. Or 56. Funny. All the bloody responsibilities in the world. But never mind, it's working.
No, well, that's it. But there's not really like what, and that's one of the things. Alice and I are both the same. If we've got a little house, if we had to rent a little house because we, you know, and had it, and we've still got like very basic cars, like older basic cars, and we don't really want for much. So that was one of the other reasons why I felt pretty safe, because, you know, as long as we got a roof on our head and sort of a bit of food and some basic comforts, we weren't too worried. So, and that's the way you got to look at it a little bit.
Yeah, you do need to look at it like that. I think both of you have to be in that situation if you're in a partnership, that you're both prepared to give up stuff, you know, and because we did the same, you know, it's kind of like, well, if we're going to live in a bloody caravan, if things go ass up, we've got to live in a caravan, get some land to adjust our pet cows and donkeys, you know, we'll just do it. We're just going to have to do it. So
yeah, that's right.
That mentality, I think, gives you the freedom to just jump up and do it. But
that's right.
Where did the name Hugh Charles come from? Because it's not your name. You know, everyone thinks you're Hugh Charles. Every time I tell
I get called Hugh all the time.
Yeah. So where did it come from?
So originally, I'm fairly practical in nature. So I was thinking like Aussie wool shirts or check wool, you know, just something really basic. Anyway, Alice came up with it. So unfortunately, her father, William Hugh Tanner, died when she was little, when she was about 10 years old. So that's where the Hugh comes from, his middle name. But we weren't just going to call it Hugh. So we got my dad's name. He's still going, but his middle name's Charles. And when she first said it, I thought that sounds like a proper clothing label. It's got a good story behind it. We're all about telling stories. So just to get that, you know, a bit of credibility and just, you know, have that personal touch. So that's where it come about. And it's a good way of remembering her dad in particular. She still misses him quite a lot. So yeah, it's a good, it worked out really well. And I'm glad she come up with it.
It's a nice legacy, isn't it?
It is, definitely. It definitely is a legacy. So yeah, and you know, like it just worked out really well. It's really struck a chord. And yeah, people really get behind it. So no, it's worked out really good.
No, I think it's good. And I think it's good for Timmy too, because as you say, it's a story, and it's, you know, as your brand grows and he really becomes part of it, because it'll just be for him, you know, just be there. And it'll get him, you know, thinking about and talking about his grandparents and his granddad.
That's right.
You know, and I think that's wonderful.
No, it's really good. So yeah. Like I say, I don't know what to add to it, but I'm glad she came up with it, because it's a lot better than Aussie flannel shirts or whatever I was gonna get. And I think we'd still be mucking around with that first 100 in the boxes if we had gone that way. So
that's fantastic. So tell us more about your line of clothes. So what can we buy from you if we go buy from you? Like
so the main so far about 90% of our clothing's been the wool shirt. So they're like a normal flannel shirt, made of wool, but it's a really soft wool. People in the past, there's other brands that do them, but they found it quite harsh and quite itchy. Ours itch still a little bit, but they're just a lot softer, probably slightly lighter than anything that's been on, and it's the sort of thing you can wear every day. We added features. It's got a longer tail. We say it's to warm the back and cover the crack. So Alice and I are both sort of short-legged and long-bodied, so we know what it's like to, when you bend over, you expose yourself a little bit. So that was important for us. We put on bigger pockets so you can, we say it so you can stick a can of beer or a can of soft drink or whatever you'd like in there. But big collars, I sort of like the big collars. I didn't grow up in the 70s, but I must sort of throw back to that a bit. I think it looks good, and we really stick with sort of just traditional colouring. So the idea is that they'll never go out of fashion, because we don't want to be changing into new lines all the time. And then I don't know exactly, 3 or 4 months ago, we brought out some vests. So the vests are the same outer material. They've just got a full zip up front, and they've got like a sort of faux lamb's wool lining, it's made of wool and cotton. It's not 100% wool, but that would have been a bit too costly. And so they've gone quite well. So they do well. So we've tried a few other things. We've had Aussie made leather belts, and we've had beanies and different things, but they probably haven't gone as good, and we'll probably sort of move away from them a little bit and just do sort of same but different. So we're going to bring out some sort of big hooded jackets that are still made out of the sort of flannel material with that lining, and just do so it's really recognizable it's ours, because you can sort of get sidetracked with little things because you think you're going to make a quick buck, but it doesn't really match in with the brand. So that's something we've learned along the way. When we first designed them, I was quite nervous, so I sort of get a sample early and wear it every day for 6 months and try them right out, and try and break them and try and wear them out and wash them 20 times and all that sort of thing. And it's been remarkable how well they've gone. We've hardly had any returns. Everything's gone really well. That's probably one of my major concerns, was we'd start out and they'd fall apart or something, and and we'd have to refund everyone. But it's just been amazing how well they've gone. So, and people just seem to love them. They're all really surprised just how soft and nice they are to wear when they turn up, and that's a comment we get all the time.
Yeah. So why is wool better? Like what are the advantages of wool?
We really want to go sort of like a natural fiber. So you look, polyester clothing's got its issues, because when they make polyester clothing, they really chop it up into small, tiny fibers. And there's a lot of advertising around about how they're finding all these small, tiny microfibers in fish, and they're sort of getting into all the waterways and all that sort of thing. As well as that, we've got a sort of wool background in our family and that sort of thing as well. It's fire resistant. It lasts longer. You don't get the smell like polyester clothing. If you wear it for a day, you just absolutely stink by the end of the day. Whereas the wool clothing, because it breathes, you can wear it for days on end, and you don't get that smell. It just has a lot of advantages. It is a bit dearer, of course, but it lasts longer. You can fix it. It's sort of thick enough where you can, if you accidentally tear it on a barbed wire fence or something, if you've got someone who can darn it up, you can fix it up. It's just got a lot of advantages in many ways. So, and also when we were small, on a practical business side of it, we couldn't ever compete with those people who were making sort of cotton flannel shirts, and they were selling them for $30, and for us to get them made was going to cost us $40. So there wasn't much point doing that. So by going something a bit more unique, and that lasts longer and is better quality, we could sort of build that margin into our product and have something we could actually sell. So there's a practical side to it as well, practical business side.
And also your customers are really quite bush people,
That's right.
And which is fantastic. But there, there's also this is looking at a real sort of extreme situation, but being out in the bush and like in a survival situation, like if you get wet or if there's a fire or something like that, you're so much safer and can keep warm. Like you're far less likely to get hot.
That's right.
In wool. So which I never knew until I went rafting once, and they said you have to wear woolen jumpers, and I'm like, oh, okay, yuck. Well,
that's funny, yeah.
But we did. We got drenched, and we actually stayed warm. It was.
Yeah, that's right. So
really
that's the whole thing. Like sheep are drenched out in the paddock, but they're still warm. They don't get cold because that's right. And they've got their sort of they're not waterproof, but they sort of water resistant to a point. So if you have a quick shower of rain, you don't get wet. Whereas, if you had a cotton or a polyester thing, you'd be saturated straight away. So they've definitely got lots of advantages, and it's a bit of a shame. We moved away from a lot of the natural sort of products and that, but I think there's going to be a real pushback towards them in the next couple of decades. People are really starting to look at where their clothing and that's coming from, a bit like they have their food and all that sort of thing in the last decade.
I think we have to, because we're in a spot of bother, really, that I think people are burying their head, pretending, I don't want to know about that. But there are pushes all around the world for slow clothing, and because so much, as you say, so many fibers are going into the ocean, and people say, who cares? It's a little bit of fiber and a fish eats it, who cares? But we've got to see further, and we've got to see the big picture is that if we kill our oceans, we're finished, so we're
that's right. I know there's a lot of brands, I think it's Patagonia and those sort of things, they either do natural fibers or recycled fibers, and they've really grown on the back of that sort of slow clothing mentality. So I think, just going to see more and more of it.
Yeah, no, I think it's good because where there's no planet B, is there? And if there is, I don't know where it is. But it
That's right.
doesn't look good.
That's right. So I put up an ad too. Like I got a Dryzerbone when I was my 21st, and I've still got it. And we quite often advertise. That's what we want our shirts to be like. You get given as a present, and then you mightn't wear it every day, but it's still there at the back of the closet that you bring out every once in a while, 10, 15, 20 years later. So it might cost a little bit more up front, but it's something you have for a long time.
Yeah, but that's what we like, don't we? I prefer
Yeah.
it, but I've only got a few of those items that are just there forever and ever and ever, and they're always your
Yeah.
favourites. Yeah, yeah. Who
Yeah.
designs the clothes? Is that both of you sitting there arguing over the big collars, or
Not really, not really. Like you think it's when I first looked into it, I thought this is no good. I'm gonna have to take a pattern making course and all that sort of thing. But a lot of manufacturers are really good now. You just send them really basic. You send them a photo of what you want, or at times we've even just sent them like a shirt, simple as we want this made with a longer tail, bigger pockets, and out of a different material. Can you make it? So the guy that's the main manufacturer we use now, he's unbelievable. So I just come up with these wild paragraphs of ideas that don't really make any sense, and he says, "Leave it to me." And a month later, you get this sample, and they're just nearly always perfect. So when we were trialing things, though, it was the exact opposite. So about the other 24 companies we tried, you'd say, do this, and they'd just come back with something completely wrong. So we're lucky to get onto someone who's really talented that way, and they sort of do most of the work. They're experienced in the industry. So we just come up with the idea, and they do it for us. So, and that's another advantage of now. The way having the internet and all that now, communicating with a lot of people. In the past, like you would have to done the pattern course, you probably had to buy a sewing machine and set up a shop and everything. But now you can just get someone else to do that for you.
Yeah, and also even without, if you didn't have your own shop, you'd still have to be traveling to have face-to-face meetings, with people, and
Yeah.
all right, and that's expensive and time wasting, and yeah, I think it's great. So, well, then,
Yeah.
lucky you've got your magic man because
Yeah, if he goes missing, we might be in trouble. We might have to shut up shop. But anyway, we sort of no, it's easier than you think. So, yeah, if anyone's thinking of starting a clothing line and that's holding them back, just get in touch with me because I'll show you how it's done.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. So at the moment you're distributing directly, like straight out of your
Yeah,
your house, we'll say, or your shed
yeah.
or wherever you've got them. But are you hoping to expand into stores, so that other people can just go into a store and buy them?
Originally, I did want to do that. Like we had an article written about us early on in the sort of in the stock and land in Victoria and the land in New South Wales. We're really lucky to get into that. And I said my dream is to have to have ours being sold in Myers or one of the big department stores. But it's not really practical because we are smaller. We only do get small batches at a time, so we don't get that sort of that discount because of the scale that a lot of other companies do, and we can't really offer the stores the margin that they want. So instead of sort of getting a shirt, only making a tiny little bit out of it, put into a store to increase our numbers we sell, I'll probably more look to, well, I'll just spend a portion of that money that we would have lost to the store in extra advertising and see if we can sell more online. We'll probably do more direct to public shows. We've done one so far. We went to East Gippsland Field Days and that was brilliant. Probably just we haven't had the stock. We're always selling out too quick, so it hasn't we haven't needed to go to those shows. But as we grow, I think we'll go more and more sort of field days, full drive shows. To try and aim at the sort of crowds that really like our stuff and do it that way. If we can scale up a lot more, we might get into stores then. But I'm not sure. I'm sort of in two minds. I don't think we're sort of getting up to sort of nearly as big as I sort of planned it on being now, and we'll just see how it goes from here. So, great if it really grows and we sell millions of them, then we might have the scale to do it. But at the moment, it's not really in the plans.
Yeah, and you might be able to just get a person, hire an extra staff person to be packing all day. That's
well, that's what we wouldn't need much. We're sort of talking about that at the time. We need a better setup with our storage. We're still like our storage is the front rooms Dad's house because he's got a pretty big house that he lives by himself in. So we've just invaded his place. So we need a proper storeroom. And then once we've got that set up, we probably will get one employee, but it won't be much. If they did 3 days a week, 2 or 3 hours, 3 days a week, they could probably do enough packing that it'd give us a bit more time, and we could go to more of those live shows and put a bit more effort into maybe talking to stores and that sort of thing. But yeah, so it's not in the plans anymore, and I don't know if it's completely necessary. I feel like the world is moving to a more online setup. Yeah. We're a little bit behind in Australia. I think in America, Amazon and similar are absolutely massive, and we're probably still a bit more of a bricks and mortar country. But I think eventually, the percentage of goods bought online will be a lot higher.
Yeah, yeah. So you're right now. You're doing 300 to 350 items a month like that. That's a lot of work, But I guess you just reach a point, don't you, where you say, well, 500 is the maximum that we can do ourselves, and then we will put on someone. And
it probably, like I say, yeah. So the threat it probably is now. We probably need nearly someone else now to do it properly. It's definitely a negative toward. We're sort of working in the business rather than on the business a lot at the moment. Like we're just sort of playing catch up, trying to get deliveries out there, trying to get orders in, doing a lot of customer service. There's not a lot of time to develop new products and sort of build up your marketing and that sort of thing, which is good. Like it's a good issue to have, but yeah, we're probably at that point right now where we need to start putting in some infrastructure and then maybe looking at a part-time employee.
I think it's bloody fantastic. It's fantastic, and it's good quality too. It's not just junk. It's really.
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah, I know, and clearly people love it. If you're selling that many a month, like obviously your advertising's working and word of mouth. I think it's bloody magnificent.
Word of mouth was amazing. Like Tasmania's only got a small population, but we sell so many down there. Obviously, the climate's perfect for what we sell, but they're all in this same little town. So we sold a couple there early, or in the same area. You see one town, you think, oh, that's another Tasmanian one. So Google it, it's the town 5 minutes over. So I think there must be someone down there. I don't know who it is, and I thank them, but they're really pushing it for us. And it's just in this little area, sort of must be all within a half an hour. We just sell dozens, if not hundreds of these shirts down there. So it really is an important thing. And we hear, like, that's what we hear all the time now is like, oh, my friend had one, so we bought it. And then people say it's funny that they keep being touched in cafes and pubs and all that sort of thing, because people say, well, what do they actually feel like? So they're getting touched up by strangers in pubs because of our shirts, but good luck to them. And then someone else said, well, you better bring out shorts then. But no, that's not that's not exactly probably not PG, but anyway, but no, it's that word of mouth's amazing, because we can advertise all we want and tell you how good it is, but I'm just a funny looking bearded guy on Facebook. So, but when your best mate says that they're really good, well, then you tend to believe them.
Yeah, you'll have to start sending them to influencers. I don't know if are there any lumberjack influencers? I don't know.
Oh, we did. So early on, it was a really big help. So, we sold a couple to a fella called Lawrence O'Toole, and I thought, I know that name. I've heard that name before. And they're of the famous O'Toole wood shopping family. So I got in contact with him, and he's been amazing. He's helped us out with a bit of promotion for no money, and he just said he liked the story, and he's been world champion and quite well known. And so we've definitely done that. We've got a few other influencers we work with on Instagram. That's probably something we'll look into a lot more, sort of those people with, sort of 3,000 or maybe 15,000 followers. You don't necessarily have to pay them a lot of money. It might be just send them a shirt or two. Can you make a few posts? And we've done a bit of that so far. And we've actually got a few sort of things coming up that might get us some exposure through some sort of better known celebrities and all that as well, but we can't say too much about it at the moment because it's a bit of a secret. We're not allowed to say, but there is more coming up. So that influencer marketing is something we're going to really look into in the next 12 months for sure.
Yeah, and you got that guy from Stratford, MICKA Harrington. Yeah, he's on The Voice at the moment. I don't know. He's trying out. Who knows how he's going to go? But I wish him well. But I see in the ads or see something that he was wearing one of your shirts. That's bloody good advertising too.
Yeah, so that worked out really well. So Micka, I played a bit of footy with him. We're sort of just socially mates, and yeah, when he went on there, I didn't ask him to do it or anything. He just did it off through his own kindness, put our shirt on. He must have known he'd done pretty well and got to sort of the main stage. So he just wore it then. So yeah, it was amazing.
That's
Amazing exposure. And when the ad went on, I was sort of daydreaming. Alice was watching Farmer Wants a Wife, and the ad came on, and we said, "Hang on, that's our shirt," and that's MICKA on there. And then we got about 500 messages of people. We saw your shirt on there. So it's obviously been noticed. So yeah, I hope he does really well too, because yeah, no, he's a great guy, and he's the same thing. He's backed himself, and you know, a lot of people would be too embarrassed to sort of try out, but he's gone and done it. It could really change his life and help his family. So good luck to him.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good luck to him. I agree. That's great. And
Yeah,
also, I was just thinking then, as you're saying that, I wasn't waiting for you to finish so I could speak, but, but
yeah,
it crossed my mind. You know, Farmer Wants a Wife. Maybe there's other places you could try, like send them to them and say, hey, do you want free shirts? And wear them on one of the shows and a 4-wheel drive shows, and I reckon you've got
yeah,
the
definitely.
world's
Oh,
yours.
we've got that. We've Pardon me. We've got that in mind for sure. We've got a bit of a short list of people that we want to send them to. We just sort of, we're just a little bit mindful. Like, we're sort of self-funded still. We haven't, so we're just sort of growing slowly. So, yeah, that's all going to happen in the next 12 months. You'll see them, a lot more sort of, probably not a lot of sort of A-list celebrities that you're going to pay a lot of money, but a lot of people who are sort of well known and in niche areas. So your 4-wheel driving, your wood cutting, your sort of outdoorsy type people. There'll be a lot of hopefully a lot of them wearing our shirts. Definitely.
Fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I really, really do.
Yeah.
Now, you're very big on, regional people, because we've been hit really hard, and particularly in
That's
Gippsland,
right.
the fires and the
Mm.
floods and God knows what. And, people are relying on our, I guess, traditional jobs and, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And things have been hit really, really hard lately. And you're a big advocate for saying, well, online stores are a fantastic way for regional people to get back on their feet. So tell us what your thoughts are on that.
So yeah, I think the internet and, like you say, e-commerce is the big advantage of our time. As we were talking about in the past, if you wanted to sell clothes, you had to buy a shop. You probably had to make them yourself, or you had to deal with established brands that that would take their fair cut out of it. So it was quite hard. Now we got the opportunity. Australia itself's got 25.5 million people, but and then the rest of the world, like you on the internet, you've got access to hundreds of millions, if not billions, of people. If you really want to, and it doesn't cost that much to do it. There's a lot of sort of goodwill towards the country after maybe a bit COVID's run it out a little bit, but after the fires, after the floods, after the drought, it really put a focus on here. So people in the more populated cities are looking out to the country to find products.
Yeah.
I just think like people in the country got a big advantage. We tend to be characters. We tend to be out there a little bit. You can give your products a fair bit of credibility. You might be, you can, if you were going to say sell flowers online or whatever, you can show that you've got that bit of land, you can grow the flowers, you can put the story behind it. We're all sort of good storytellers. So, yeah, I think it's a real way forward. We're definitely going to have a bit of a tough next couple of years. There's been so much money spent by governments through COVID that it's just going to have to run out somehow. So a lot of services out to the country, I think, are going to struggle because most of the votes are in the city. The money that is left over is probably going to go there. So one of the ways to get money back in is to have that online store. For example, 85% of our sales are outside Gippsland. So that's all money from outside coming back in. by both of us going full time, we've already sort of created 2 jobs because 2 other people could be going into the jobs we were already doing, and we've got a part-time one. So it doesn't, in small communities, it doesn't take many businesses like that to get things going, and it costs stuff all to set up. Like our business, all up, added absolutely everything up, and from when we first thought about starting it to having our first lot of product and the website and everything was $12,000. So you just can't start other businesses for $12,000. You can't buy a coffee van for $12,000. You know what I mean? Like it's got that great advantage too. So I would say, yeah, it's the way to go. Come up with your idea, something you can sell out there. Don't be afraid to get out there, make a bit of fun of yourself, and play up the countryside of your sort of your makeup, and just go for it.
No, I think it's fantastic, and I think we do need a lot more people to back themselves. Like, there's going to be a lot of people, as you say, the money will run out. Even now, JobKeeper, it's not there now, and
no, that's right.
Their jobs, and it's kind of, and every time we have a lockdown, there's more and more people out of a job, and perhaps we really are overlooking the opportunity to make something ourselves instead of relying on others to pay us. Get something up ourselves and get it running. And
so it might be like, for example, the timber industry is really struggling. It's probably been shut down to a point for inner city boats, whether you agree with it or not. That's probably why it is. But why they if it is shutting down, it doesn't look like it's got a huge future. You could, if you've got a family history of lumberjacks, maybe you start making your own axes or something and sell them online, and then you've got that. You can take photos. This is my grandpa who was a lumberjack. This is my dad. You've got that story to tell. So there's that opportunity like that. The people, that's just the sort of thing come up, and you've got that authenticity that no one else can copy. So that's the sort of thing that people can really look at, and that's the advantage we have.
There's opportunities everywhere, though, isn't there?
Oh, definitely.
We really do put ourselves into small boxes. And like I say, if you're from the country and you've got like a line of, your family line from that particular area, there is always going to be a lumberjack story, or there's going to be a farmer story, or there's going to be
that's right.
A service club history, or there's going to be, or a footy club. There's going to be some kind of story that you can attach to something, and we shouldn't be putting ourselves in little boxes, because the world is our oyster, as you said before.
No, exactly right.
We really can do it,
and you can do anything now. There's nothing really stopping you now, to a point. No, I suppose you're probably not going to start up a space program, but within reason you can do most things now. It's not hard to research it.
It's not hard, and it's true. We can't do everything. I'm a big brother for telling people you can do anything you want. But the truth is we can't, because I can't be a bloody brain surgeon, or fly a helicopter to bloody space. But the point is, it's there are so many things we can do, that are way beyond our thinking, and if we just start,
that's right,
possibilities. Is it possible? Yeah, it actually is possible. I wonder what that would take. And I think we've just got to think a little bit beyond, and we can do amazing things. We're all bloody magnificent. That's the truth,
Well, it is. It's like, you just got to back yourself in. And I was the worst in the world at it. I was, like I said, I procrastinated for 15 years. Like, I've got a old workmate of mine who used to call me the ideas man, because every week I'd come out, this is how we're going to make our millions this week. Well, why don't you do something about it? And then it'd just be, all right, next week, this is how we're going to do it. But, eventually we went and did something, and now it's working.
I'm the same. I've always wanted to own an ideas company, because I haven't got time. I come up with ideas, and I think I just want a big lot of people where I say, I've got an idea. Are you busy? I want you to do, bring this to fruition, because I've got I haven't got enough time. But I love ideas, people. Steve, we need a beer. We've got to.
That's right. Yeah, when we're allowed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've loved this conversation. I like to, this podcast is get off the bench to inspire people to take action. So I want your
Yeah,
advice on, well, give us your thoughts on this. You know, if somebody's been sitting on an idea for ages, like you, Steve, for 15 years, you know,
yeah,
but they can't see how it's possible, or they just can't
mm,
see all the steps, because nobody can ever
yeah.
see, but that stops them. What advice would you give to just get moving, just get started?
Well, yeah. So 90% of success is just getting started. Like nothing's ever going to work if you don't just go and do it. And we were talking about the ideas before, but everyone's got ideas. That the actual putting it into motions, the bit that the thing, you know, um, and then after that, the more you sort of push. I heard this from someone else, but the more you push, the more you put yourself out there, the more you sort of dedicate to things. It's amazing what opportunities turn up.
Yeah.
Like I've got one of my most sort of admired businesses that I follow. The lady who runs it rang me last week, just out of the blue, just to say, "Oh, we like what you're doing. Can we do a bit of a collaboration?" That sort of thing. And it was just through putting yourself out there more and more, like, and a few other things like the MICKA Harrington thing, going on The Voice. Just the more you sort of keep pushing along, it's amazing how many opportunities come out. What else did I? Yeah, so don't listen to the naysayers, like we said before. Go back to that. If you've done 18 months research or 2 years research and you've really looked into it, and then your Uncle Bob says, "Nah, that'll never work. Keep your job." Well, Uncle Bob hasn't put in 18 months research. He doesn't know. So don't worry about that. And so leave that alone. And then just what we were saying before, like, if a funny looking sort of chubby sort of half farmer, half worker can start a fashion line that can go reasonably well, like, what can't you do? There's people. I literally knew nothing in, say, 2019, started 2019, knew nothing about clothing, absolutely just had a bit of an idea, and now we're sort of living the dream. And I really like it, because if get on my deathbed, I'm not going to be there saying, "Geez, I wish I had done 4 more years of 9 to 5, or 10 more years working the 9 to 5." But you might regret that, "Geez, I had that good idea and I didn't ever do it." So I don't. That's the thing. I don't want any regrets now. And through using this business, like, it's opened up a lot more opportunities, and I'm definitely going to cover a lot of those things that I might not have been able to do if I'd have just stayed in the rat race. So no. So yeah, just get on with it. Just do it. Like, even if you put something out there and nobody buys it and everyone makes fun of you, who cares? Because I'll have forgotten about it in 2 weeks, and then you can just get on to your next thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And good advice. And exactly, this is what I keep saying this to people. Who gives a toss what people say about you? Because they only talk about you till the next big thing comes along, and the next big thing comes along every bloody 24 hours. So don't even worry about what people say.
But people don't even know what's going on with you. You think everyone notices something, but I can't tell you what my best mate's been up to half the time. Like, people aren't that worried about themselves that, if you make a big stuff up, well, a couple of people might say something, but they don't really care. Like, they're on to the next thing, as you say. So there's really nothing to lose. I understand there's people who have got things that have happened in their life. It might make it hard, but for 95% of us, we can sort of do whatever we want.
Yeah. And it's that great saying, isn't it? You wouldn't worry about what people thought of you if you realised how little they actually did.
Exactly right. They don't really care.
They don't. And okay, so where can people find you? Like website, Facebook,
So,
all that?
Yeah, so we've got the Hugh Charles Facebook. That's probably our main social media. We do a bit on Instagram. That's our second. LinkedIn, Twitter, and those. Well, I'm probably a bit slack on those. I should be getting back into them. And then our website's www.hughcharles.com.au. So that's where you can buy the stuff. Although we're a bit short at the moment. We got more stock coming in next month. We sort of run out again because it's just going remarkably well. We just can't keep up with what we're doing, but that's a really good thing.
Place to be.
Yeah, and definitely just get started. That's the main message out of it. Just go for it. Once you get started, you won't look back.
Yep. No, love it. Well, thank you so much. This has been fantastic, and you're a massive inspiration. And if people haven't listened to you and inspired to go do their thing, well, bloody hell, you know, what does it take? But you know, it's just fantastic what you're doing, and I love it. And I love that you got such a focus on regional
Yeah.
people, you know, how we're going to build that up. And yeah, I really love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, the way we're gonna sort of get through the next few years is by innovation and people having to go out in the country, because we might be left by ourselves a little bit. So it's up to us to do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And you know, while we can put a hand out for rescuing, we don't want to be rescued, really. You know, we just want to be
No.
we just want to be given a little nudge here and there to keep us going.
That's right.
At the end of the day, country folk are very resilient, very
That's
resilient,
right.
and resourceful. So fingers crossed that you and others do inspire people to, you know, get off the bench and to really start living life their way and giving things a crack, because the world really is our oyster, and the only thing in our way is us. So
That's right.
we do have to give it a crack. But yeah, I've loved this so much. It's overdue.
That's good. No, that's good. That's good. No, we'll have to do an update in the future.
Yeah,
see how it's all gone. When I'm back at my job, when it's all gone pear shaped. No, not really. We'll be. No, it's good. It's good. And yeah, if anyone wants any help with getting something started and marketing and all that sort of thing, we've done pretty well on our marketing. So just just get in contact through us on Facebook or Instagram or through the website, and we're willing to help whoever wants to help.
Yeah, you're fantastic. And you're very good at branding. You've been very true and loyal to your brand. And I think that, you know, people can get all lopsided all over the place about what's our brand. But when you know what your brand is, which is, you know, you've really nailed that. So I think you'd be giving good advice on that, in that area as well. But no, this has been fantastic. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to look forward to the getting out of lockdown, having a beer. And
thank you.
It's been absolutely brilliant. So thanks for sharing your time with us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Thanks heaps. All right. See ya.
See ya.